Hi there, Martin from the Bear Marketing section, and available of course on the website martinacohn.com. Now, firstly I want to thank you very much for joining us today, and in this first video, which will be a number of an ongoing series of answering your questions, I actually received an email a few days ago from Suzanne up in Coffs Harbour, and Suzanne asks, I'm hearing a lot about WordPress and wanted to find out if WordPress is one of the best ways to go for actually creating websites. Can you tell me what the advantages and disadvantages are of using WordPress and if it's a viable option to go with? Now, Suzanne, thank you very much for your excellent email. It's a brilliant question, and I will certainly do my best to answer those questions for you today. There are a number of options when it comes to creating web content, and I think to best answer this question we need to really recognize that it is imperatively important to understand that firstly WordPress comes in two flavors. There is wordpress.com, which is a free website where you do not own the content, but you are able to register an account and you can then create your blog or website, and as long as you generally remain within the terms of service or TOS, you will probably be okay. However, it is a very limited perspective, because firstly you're not able to install all the different plugins, and I will explain a little bit more about that later. And essentially, when you yourself do not own the hosting, you can find that for absolutely reasons beyond your control, you may have built up a very successful website over time, and then with virtually no warning, WordPress may decide for whatever reason to modify your accounts, shut it down, take it offline, and the fact is you simply don't have the control or the true ownership that is recommended. Now, then there is wordpress.org, and from wordpress.org you can actually download the source files to then re-upload WordPress onto your own hosting platform. But taking this another step, many platforms allow you to actually create a hosting account. Now, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different hosting companies out there. I do certainly utilize a particular number of them. I haven't got all my eggs in one basket, but I do definitely recommend some as being better than others, and one of them, for example, is WP Engine Hosting. And another good one I also find is Bluehost. Now, essentially they have plans that range from quite literally a few dollars a month all the way up to $300 a month, depending on what you want to do. But for the average person just starting out, even a ballpark figure of around $5 to $10 a month will give you a basic account with Bluehost, for example, and those links, by the way, are below the video, so you can actually check out those hosting providers at your leisure. But essentially, when you create a hosting account of your own, you have complete and total control. You own it. You have ownership of the content that you're putting on your website. You can edit it any way you like, and it gives you an enormous amount of flexibility to also add plugins, which are micro programs that allow you to tweak or make WordPress very much more functional towards your own specific needs. Now, I actually have created a course on creating a WordPress website. I'll have links to that down below the video as well. There's a lot of free videos that are offered by myself as well as other people, and there will be links pointing to those as well. But essentially, with most hosts, when you create your hosting account, you also have the option to use a program within that hosting platform. Now, different hosts will call this different things. Some will call it something like Fantastico. Others will call it Installatron. Others will have their own proprietary names. Now, essentially, they will allow you within literally a few clicks to install the WordPress software onto your hosting platform. And when you've done that, you obviously, as you're going through the process, you create your domain name, you create the name for your WordPress blog. Now, just for those who may not be aware, a domain name is the name that you give to the website when you're looking for it on the internet. For example, one of my websites is martinacohn.com. So that is the domain name, and when someone types in martinacohn.com, it then will display my website, which is going through something called domain name servers. It basically marries the name of the domain name to the physical location on the internet where your website is physically hosted or located. And essentially, once you've created your hosting space by going to any of the hosting companies that you can find listed below the video, you can then, as you're going through that setting up process, you can either obtain a domain name there and then, or you can even have used another domain name you got from another domain name registrar, and you can instruct that registrar to point that domain name to where your website is hosted, and all that information is presented to you as you are setting up your hosting account. You'll be sent an email which will have a lot of detail in it, and it'll have something along the lines of DNS server names or server names, and it'll be usually server name 1, server name 2, and there'll be a series of numbers and letters which will explain what those server names are. You then put that information with your registrar account to marry up your domain name so it knows where to point. Now, also understand, with most hosts, if you get your domain name with your hosting company at the same time, you don't have to worry about any of that technical stuff. It will all be set up automatically for you and resolved behind the scenes for you. But I will be explaining a lot more about this in much more detail, so that in other videos, so that you can actually explore that further if you want to. So essentially, I recommend using WordPress as its own hosted entity that you own on your own hosting platform, because that way you've got a much greater control. No one can decide after years and years of you slogging and slaving over creating a site that for whatever reason they don't like it anymore, and that's now going to go. So that is why I recommend WordPress, because when it's self-hosted, you have got an enormous amount of control in how that site works, how that site looks, and the functions that you can put into that site. And you can use WordPress sites for simple blogging sites. You can use it for quite complex real retail selling sites. You can use it for content sites, membership sites. You're literally limited only by your imagination. And over the coming weeks and months, I'm actually going to be releasing new videos to explain each one of these separate entities and these separate concepts. If you want to, of course, subscribe by hitting the subscribe button down the bottom, and also hitting the bell notification, so that every time there's a new video released, you'll actually automatically be notified about that video. And I genuinely want to be able to provide for you, not only you, Suzanne, but also every one of our viewers. I want to be able to provide for you genuine marketing information that you can develop and utilize in your own business. And that doesn't matter whether it's an online business, in the sense of online e-commerce. It doesn't matter if it's a blog. It doesn't matter even if you've got a traditional bricks and mortar business. The concepts are very much the same. And the fact is, even if you've got a bricks and mortar business, a physical shop or physical outlet, the fact is you want to be found on the internet today it's important because a lot of people are searching for you by looking on the internet in the first instance. So that essentially is my introduction and hopefully my answer to your question, Suzanne, about why I recommend WordPress over any other content management systems. There are other ones, of course, many other ones. There's Joomla, Drupal, to name two others. But WordPress is quite literally one of the most utilized. There's something like 35 to 45% of the world's websites today, that is August 2018, are made utilizing WordPress. WordPress hasn't just sort of come out of nowhere. It's actually developed over many years, and it is constantly being developed and improved. So you will have a really, really good idea of the background security that is built into WordPress. And of course, I'm going to be explaining all of these issues to you in upcoming videos as well. So stay tuned on that one as well. I don't want to take up too much of your time today. I find that generally presenting this information in small chunks is the most effective way of releasing knowledge and giving you value, so that you can absorb it and get on and then, you know, utilize it in your own lives, your own businesses, and so on. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. Thank you very much. And, you know, that is my general introduction into why to use self-hosted WordPress websites. And I look forward to answering more of your questions. By all means, send them in to myself. There is a contact form on martinacohn.com. Contact me either using that form or by responding to the comments in the video, and I look forward to answering any more of your questions. Have a great day. Cheers.